Hey guys, this is Flavored and you are with the DAILYCAST. What's a DAILYCAST, you might ask, and that would be a valid question. Well, to put it simply, DAILYCAST is my video blog. You know, like those girls on the internet and on the YouTube in particular, they like go, "Oh, hello everyone, I've just bought myself a new Gucci bag, here it is, and that's what I think about it." Well, something like that, only about the things that actually matter. Like video games, you know, it's all matters to us. And, well, in particular, in this case, it's about SWTOR and the things that greatly touched me. Now, as you all know, there is an expansion coming. And that expansion is bound to change the whole game's PvP with the new skills, with the new specs, with the new perks, with the new additions, well, with a shitload of stuff, to be just short. And this is a great case for concern, simply because if we look at the past history, BioWare didn't do such a great job of balancing this game's PvP at all. And if you look at the fact that they announced that every damn class, every damn spec will get 5 additional perks per skill tree, you'll get 5 additional levels, 5 additional skill points to spend. Well, here, well, I don't know. Well, actually, I do know, of course, but I don't know what to call this. Like I said, it is a case for concern because everything can get a lot more worse than it is right now, or it may not. Well, that is beside point. But what I want to talk about right now is that a few days ago there were some people who data mined some information about new abilities that are coming with the expansion from the newest PTS patch. At first, it was a short post on the forums with the data. Only a few skills were there, some hexadecimal information was there, and it looked real. Then on Reddit there was a post with a much more detailed list without any hexadecimal stuff, just plain text file, which looks pretty, but doesn't necessarily, but at the same time looks suspicious. And that is exactly what I want to talk about today for the first. Well, actually, DAILYCasts will never have any numbers. It will be just videos with me talking about stuff that touched me, that concerns me, and all. But here it goes. Let me switch. There we are. I've opened the file with the changes, and what I'm gonna do is to read them out loud and then speculate on the possible impact it will make on the PvP. If it will be a good thing, if it will be a bad thing, if I'm uncertain, and stuff like that. So here we go. This is the DAILYCast about the upcoming changes to PvP. Of course, we do not yet know when will this go live. It might be in the spring. Which month exactly is yet unknown. But I've talked to a lot of good players from Tomb of Freedom NAD, and they are all genuinely worried about the fact that BioWare with this change might destroy PvP completely. Right now it is on the thin ice, so to speak. It is not exactly balanced, but it is not broken. Yes, there are a couple of things like stun bubbles and smash that needs fixing, but everything else is pretty much in the hands of the players. Like gunslingers can go against shadows, and shadows can go against gunslingers. Healers can be pressured, but they are able to keep themselves alive. There is nothing wrong in the core with the PvP right now, but changing, like adding 5 additional skill points and adding additional perks per tree can really make PvP unplayable if BioWare does something wrong. and that concerns every player out there who finds himself playing PvP competitively, or at least trying to. Now, before I go into the changes, I want to state one thing. If BioWare plans to make at least half of them go live, they really need good testers. If you are by accident watching these guys from BioWare, I'm telling you, give something to the good players, like run some incentives, I don't know, make them test this, because seriously, if at least half of whatever is written in this file is true, you are walking a dangerous road. Now, whatever, let's put this all aside and get into the changes. Well, let's see. First thing we're looking at the top is Jedi Consular. Now notice, it is not Shadow, it is not Sage, it is not Sorcerer, it is not Assassin, it is a basic class. It is either an Inquisitor or Consular abilities. Well, it might be a mistake or something, but here is what we get. New abilities. Force Barrier. Projects a force barrier about you, granting immunity to all control, damage and negative effects while channeled. This ability does not respect the global cooldown and can be used while controlled. Now, you don't seriously thinking of putting the invulnerability skill into the game and granting it to shadows and or sages. You don't really think about that, right? Notice immunity to all damage effects while channeled. It is invulnerability skill. Now, of course, obviously you have to channel it, and so you cannot attack or anything, but seriously? So someone focuses a sage, or let's imagine for a moment that it is actually a shadow or an assassin ability. Someone decides to focus an assassin, and then you use this ability. And it grants you immunity to damage, negative effects, and all control abilities, meaning you cannot be stunned while channeling it. I don't even know what to say about this, seriously. Basically, you get invulnerability. Fine. You can see the possible outcomes of this by yourself, I guess. Usages unlimited. Yes, you cannot move, probably you have to channel, you cannot attack, but you are damn unkillable. Whatever. Another second ability is no less fun to speculate on. It's Phase Walk. Activating this ability marks your current location for some number of seconds. When this ability is activated again, if you are within 60 meters of the marked location, you instantly return to the marked location. When returning to the marked location, or when the effect ends, Phase Walk goes on cooldown for 45 seconds. 45 seconds. Does not break stealth. Now, what you get effectively is a teleporting shadows or sages. Now, uses again are unlimited. You can grab the ball and then teleport 60 meters away, so you will be outside of range of whoever. This is a purely PvP skill, by the way, because I seriously cannot imagine the uses in PvE. You can teleport to safety. You can engage in battle. You can trick your opponents and run away. You can position yourself properly for the rescue or for the healing. Once again, countless uses. This is extremely overpowered because of the range and of the cooldown. These just cannot go live in game. Now, once again, this is not necessarily real changes whatsoever, although I have not seen anyone yet like stating it's a prank. I may be doing bullshit right now. But people have been talking about it for a while. And I feel they haven't been talking about it as much as they should be, because if these changes turn out to be real, that will be a complete disaster. This has to be tested thoroughly. I cannot emphasize this enough. But moving on. Now, change to battle readiness. Battle readiness is already existing skill for the shadows out there. Readies yourself with the force, immediately restoring 15% of your max health. Right now it doesn't restore any health unless you have a perk in the tanking tree in defense or darkness. Increasing the damage and healing dealt by all techniques by 100%. This is exactly what it does right now. There are no additional effects stated in this. And increasing the chance to trigger their effects by 35%. Well, actually, what I think is the battle readiness change is necessary. Right now it is kind of underpowered. So, if it is a true change, I welcome it. By the way, there are a lot of changes, so we're in for a lot of speculating and talking. Force Breach locates and breaches the target's shatter point, causing an effect based on your current technique. Well, I guess everyone knows it. So, Force Technique deals some amount of periodic kinetic damage over some seconds. Well, that is how it is right now. Combat Technique strikes up to 5 nearby enemies, dealing some internal damage and decreasing the target's melee and ranged accuracy by 5% for the next number of seconds. Generates high amount of threat. Now it says puts Force Breach on cooldown for 6 seconds. As I understand it, this reduces combat techniques cooldown by quite a friggin' lot when you're in combat technique or what is it, darkness charge, I think. What is it called on assassins? Well, it doesn't matter, darkness or lightness, whatever it is called. I think current cooldown is 15 seconds or 12 maybe. Damn, I forgot it. I'll check it out later, but it doesn't matter. It says it puts the Force Breach on cooldown for 6 seconds. It's even friggin' less than Wither or Slow Time right now, which is 9 seconds cooldown. This is a joke, right? Well, of course, you will be spamming AoE. It's not a strong skill, but you seriously do not need 6 seconds cooldown on AoE. Makes it pretty much spammable and accuracy reduction permanent. I don't know, it is not necessarily broken, but spammable AoE attack. This is designed to bring up numbers on your tank, hybrid spec shadow or assassin in DPS gear even more. Shadow Technique deals some amount of internal damage per breaching shadow consumed. Now that is yet unclear, because right now it's just a chance to deal additional internal damage, but here it states something about breaching shadow being consumed. I suppose this is some kind of new stack generated from Shadow or Surgeon Charge. Shadow Technique or Surgeon Charge. I don't know. This is unclear, so there is nothing to speculate on. There is some changes to Shadow Technique or Surgeon Charge, which is not apparent right now. Okay, changes to the trees. Balance. Crush Spirit increases the damage dealt by force and balance and periodic effects by some percent. We can see 3% indicators on targets below 30% of max health. Now this is an interesting charge which can which can lead to balance being broken. Currently it is the only dot tree which provides some amount of burst, because project and force and balance together are pretty bursty, because force and balance under certain builds can reach like 15k damage overall. Can easily crit for 4.5k damage per target. And as I understand it, by analogy with the different effects of the same nature which are already in game, it I suppose will be increased by 10, 20, 30%. So let's imagine you get additional 30% damage to the force balance, even though it applies only to the targets below 30% max health. That is easily a 5.5k hit. So you get an AoE finisher move. Well, am I the only one who sees how broken can that be? While I currently balance Sages and Sorcerer and Madness Sorcs are easily the best DPS in game. Yes, they perhaps do not have that much burst, but playing them properly delivers insane damage per second. Just insane. And they want to improve it even more and give them a AoE finisher move. Lambast. Whirling Blow now automatically triggers Force Technique on affected targets on a separate raid limit. Now this seems to be of course a Shadow or Assassin ability. So, and they want to make you use Whirling Blow in PvP. Well, I can actually see how useful this can be in PvE, but we're of course looking at this from PvP perspective. Well, I can actually see how useful this is. A pretty welcome change, I can say, because still you have to go melee as a balanced Shadow, even though not so many people play it, but it's pretty strong, I feel. And now in large team battles you can get double dots and effectively increase dot damage by about 50%, and that is a good change, I feel. Of course it is still hard to see the whole picture, but from what I know right now, the change is a welcome one, at least this one. Mental defense reduces all damage taken while stunned by some percent. Well, I don't know how much balanced Shadow needs this, because pretty much if you are caught, you are squishy when you're playing balance. If you are caught, you are dead. Will it help? Well, it depends on the numbers, of course. Obviously, it's healer if it's a considerable number, like 30% reduction. Healers might be able to keep you up, so additional survivability to balance, why not? Metaphysical alacrity. Mental alacrity increases your movement speed by 50%. Now, this is an interesting change for the Sages and Sorcerers. I don't know. 50% movement speed increase, this is there are several uses, but 50%, this feels like a little bit too much. Sages will be running around like mad. Again, hard to speculate on this, but 50%, there is no other perk in the whole game that increases movement speed by this much. And it doesn't say for how long. I don't know. Rippling Force Sage damage dealt by telekinetic throw has some amount of chance. Damage dealt by telekinetic throw has some chance, and damage dealt by disturbance, well, I suppose just different chances to apply a rippling force to the target, which deals blah 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 some kinetic damage over some seconds. Additional damage on telekinetic throw. Well, like I'm saying, I'm not sure. Like I was saying, I'm not sure that Sages and Sorcerers damage needs to be boosted at all. But judging from what I'm seeing, it's gonna be ridiculously boosted. So, Rippling Force on the Shadow or Assassin. When your Force technique deals damage, it has a certain percent chance to apply Rippling Force. Well, it's the same, it's just different source of it, so to speak. It's weird that for Sages it is Telekinetic Throw instead of Weaken Mind. I don't know. They're boosting damage, and of course it's good, just the question is if it will not go overboard. Okay, changes. Adjudication. Increases the critical strike damage dealt by double strike. Well, there is already. I guess it will not be 50% anymore, or what? There's already a skill that increases it by up to 50%. Mind Warp increases the duration of mind crash by blah blah blah. This already is in the game, I'm not sure. Without the exact numbers, it's hard to say if it's buffed or debuffed. Containment. If your force lift breaks early from damage, the target is stunned from... Yeah, it changes to existing perks. Without the numbers, it's hard to say if it's buffed or debuffed. Critical Kinesis increases the critical damage of the kinetic throw. Drain Thoughts increases all periodic damage dealt. Wait, does it mean there is no increase on force imbalance or death deals critical? Well, no, hard to say. Increases the damage force focus, increases the damage dealt by force techniques, force breach effect. Fortunately, all these changes do not have numbers to them. Therefore, I suppose I'm gonna be skipping them. Presence of mind when you're taking it. I suppose there are some changes to percentages, but well, of course, since they're not explicitly stated, it's hard to say if it's... Wheel of the Jedi is listed in the changes. Currently it's maxed out at 6%. Will it be increased to 9%? That's the only adequate change I see. Telekinetic focal point. Damage dealt by telekinetic throw has grant telekinetic focal point, which increases alacrity by 1%. Stacks up to 4 times. Is this even needed for 4%? Whatever. Let's proceed to the next tree, which is Infiltration. I'm skipping most of these simply because there are no exact numbers stated. Half of these skills are already in the game, so without the numbers it's hard to say if they're being buffed or debuffed. Therefore, speculating on something that I don't really know makes no sense. Infiltration. New. Impose weakness. Low slash and spinning kick have 100% chance to automatically trigger your infiltration tactics on a separate 10-second rate limit. Now, this is interesting. So basically, it allows you to spam Shadow Strike or Maul even more often. Every time you stun, you have additional chance of getting that infiltration tactics buff, which increases damage on your Maul or Shadow Strike and reduces its force cost. for the spammers of mole dedicated. Judgment increases all damage dealt to targets below 30%. Are they going crazy? Seriously, everyone's getting damage increase on below 30% health. Additionally reduces the force cost of spinning strike by 2. This is crazy. No, I do not agree with this. All shadows deal already ridiculous damage, increasing it even more, especially on the targets which are low, makes it increasingly hard to fight against, for the healers to keep such targets alive. Basically, it can even easily outperform heals. Of course, I do not know the exact percentage is gonna be increased, but if you look at whatever is already in game, it might be probably by 10, maybe 15, maybe even 20%. Let's hope it's not such numbers, of course. And let's just think about it. 5.5k mole, maybe 6k on discharge or force breach. Increase that even by 10%, and it will easily outperform heals, at least from a single healer. Nerve-wracking. Targets controlled by your spinning kick or force stun take additional more. Well, it's already in the game, I suppose it is gonna be changed. Oh yeah, it's only for the spinning kick right now, or spike. Right now it will be added, for stun will be added to this list. Or no, it's to the infiltration. Yeah, I see, what am I talking about? It's infiltration. Spinning kick damage increase only for the darkness or defense. So basically, right now when you engage on the target, you will deal increased damage to what you already deal, which is, if it crits, is insane. Then you get additional free maul or shadow strike, and then during spinning kick and force stun, after you mauled to the 30%, your target to the 30% hit points, you deal additional damage. Well, Shadow's Mark increases the accuracy of melee and force attacks by some. The damage dealt by Shadow Strike. You gotta be kidding me. Even more increase to the Shadow Strike damage. Upheaval. When you activate Project, you have well, I suppose no, wait a second, they're giving Upheaval to the Infiltration, so you don't actually have to go into balance now for it. Now I'm starting to believe these changes are not real. This cannot be true. No, this cannot be going in game. Whirling Edge reduces the force cost of Whirling Blow and increases its damage dealt by some. Well, Whirling Blow is an underused skill. It's pretty costly, so perhaps some buff to it is in order. Especially now when it's well, no, it's an infiltration. It's an infiltration spec, so I cannot. And the other change was for balance. Well, anyway, Whirling Blow is an underused skill. It's only used to for an interrupt right now. Nobody is actually gonna be using it in actual combat for something other than interrupting enemy players from capping or whatever else. So some buff is welcome. Every other additions seem pretty crazy, especially to the infiltration or deception skill trees. I don't know. Now the next is the list of changes again. With the percentages, I do not know, so we are gonna be going. Okay, here is something about Breach and Shadow. Shadow technique assumes a shadow technique, giving your attacks, the chance 20% chance to deal some internal damage is the same as it was, and build one Breaching Shadow. Breaching Shadows stack up to 3 times and increase the damage dealt by your next Force Breach. This effect cannot occur more than every 4.5 seconds required. So there is no rate limit on damage dealt by your attacks anymore. Or no. Actually, the change is pretty good. The rate limit is increased from 1.5 seconds right now to 4.5 seconds. So this kind of, I suppose, this kind of balances out the other damage increase, because your technique was debuffed. Actually, it was nerfed. The rate limit is greatly increased, and now to I wonder how much does your damage of your discharge or force breach increase with every breaching shadow right now. What was it saying about it? Let me scroll up a little bit. It said that, so as I understand it, at least from the description of Shadow Technique now, you cannot use Force Breach without breaching shadows now. There is no base damage, it deals some internal damage for each breaching shadow consumed. Okay. So you have to build breaching shadows first before you can use Force Breach, unlike right now, where you actually stack up to 5 times every time your Shadow Technique or Surge in Charge deal damage, and it simply improves the damage dealt by your Force Breach or Discharge. Right now you have to build some charges before you can use it. That's an interesting change, by the way, because right now it is kind of overpowered. I would not see it as nerf necessarily, it's just a different mechanic right now. Okay, this is interesting. Personally, I feel it is interesting. Let's move on to the Kinetic Combat, which actually has the least changes. Kinetic Bulwark consumes a charge of Kinetic Ward, increases shield absorption. Consuming a charge of Kinetic Ward increases shield absorption by some percent, stacks up to 8 times. This effect lasts for 20 seconds or until Kinetic Ward is reactivated. This is not so much useful in PvP, I would say, but it does provide for additional survivability, especially if you are stacking for shield and absorption chance. Now again, unless if there were exact numbers of how much it increases what, it would be easier to say how effective it could be. If it's like 10, 15, well, if there is only one number, if there is like 15% absorption increase, it can be pretty powerful, especially if you use Relic, which increases your absorption by 405 or whatever it is, 380. In PvP you could have like easily 80-90% absorption, and that could render certain attacks pretty ineffective. But of course it is just a speculation, you cannot say for sure until you see the numbers, but it could be a useful change, although most kinetic combat or darkness, shadows and assassins run with DPS gear without a shield, so this change would not apply to most of the players out there. Martial prowess, spin and kick can now, well, what's that supposed to mean? I don't get it. The current skill right now, it improves your armor by 20% in addition. Are they willing to take yet more armor out of shadows? That would be a problem for them in PvP, like, because this might be a nerf that a lot of people have been waiting for, saying that shadows are overpowered. But seriously, there was a nerf to Shadows' armor before, and it lowered their survivability by a lot. Are they going to nerf it even more? Because taking 20% out is might turn into a problem. Shadow Wrap, Double Strike and Spinning Strike have a certain percent chance to grant Shadow Wrap, which makes your next Shadow Strike cost a lot less force and usable when... Excuse me? When face to face with your opponent? What's this? Oh, okay, you can use your Shadow Strike without actually positioning yourself. Now this is an interesting change, seriously, especially for those of you who use infiltration tactics in DPS gear and playing hybrid, because you will not have to position yourself anymore. I would definitely use it myself. This is interesting. Shadow's Shelter. I certainly would welcome this change. It allows for a more interesting play, maybe less tricky but more interesting. Combined with infiltration tactics, this might like render your shadow strikes and mauls cost less force, 0% force, 0 force, not percent, just 0 force, and you can just unload it right into your opponent's face. Interesting. Shadow's Shelter increases all healing received by... Now this is, I suppose, to balance out 20% armor reduction. So you will have less armor, but the healers will have easier time keeping you up. But then again, it is not if it's only 2% healing received, then you're kidding me. It will not substitute the armor reduction in any way. In addition, deploying Phase Walk also deploys Shadow's Shelter, increasing all healing done by those within 5 meters of the Phase Walk by... Now, whoa, this is an interesting change. And this would definitely improve Shadow Tanks' viability in PvP. Because right now there is really no utility for the Shadow Tanks whatsoever. They can only taunt, they can only guard, and that's about it. But now, in addition to spamming slow time and reducing the damage of the enemies around them by 5% and slowing their movement speed, they can also improve healing done by every healer around them. Now, if any of you watched the game I posted just yesterday on Ancient Hypergate between Hey I'm MVP and Don't Panic, you might probably imagine how useful can it be if you are running a setup of 4 healers and substitute your tank, your guardian tank, for Shadow. Now again, no percentage stated, so that's about as much as I can say right now. Okay, bombardment increases the threat and damage dealt by project. Now, right now it's a single skill point perk, which increases by 15% damage dealt and threat by the same amount. It turns into 3 skill point perk. I don't know. Impact control increases your shield absorption. Battle readiness. Okay, instead of healing right now, which is a permanent effect of battle readiness, it increases your damage reduction. Well, I can see like this is a valid change. It's additional benefit since you already have 15% healing. You get damage reduction in addition, which is not so bad. Again, until there are solid numbers. What is 2 and 1? Is it stated anywhere? Let me scroll a little bit. No, there is no exact statement what these numbers mean, unfortunately. Huh. Kinetic word. Perhaps second duration is changed. It's now a 3 skill point perk. Particle acceleration. While combat technique is active, damage dealt by double strike, shadow, whirling blow, spinning strike has a certain % chance in making next. Okay, this is a 3 skill point perk as well now. Where do I get this many skill points, if I might ask? Are they saying that playing hybrid will not be viable anymore? And like you will have to invest all your skill point in one single tree? Skill points in one. Now this might be, if this is the case, this might change the PvP completely. Well, then again, this all might be just someone's joke, so... But think about it. This change implies that a lot of currently 1 single point skills will be turned into 3 skill point skills. This can only mean that they're trying to eliminate hybrid specs. And not just any random I mean not any random, but not just top 3 perks that will be turned, but it's mid-tier skills. Interesting. Alright, next is Seer. Amnesty reduces the duration of noble sacrifice force degeneration effects by certain seconds. In addition, force barrier now purges noble sacrifice force degeneration. Now this is something that sages need. Currently, sages force management is lacking. If you run out of force in heat of a combat, you are very vulnerable. At least that's what I feel from my personal experience of playing sages and sorks. If you happen to be driven to the point where you run out of force, you are vulnerable because you have to use force noble sacrifice to restore it, and if a second healer is unable to sustain you for the duration, you are in a pinch. Force gift increases alacrity. Then again, it's for the healer, so I don't know. Healers don't really... The good healer will not really encounter such a problem with the force. Of course, there are certain possible state of events when you have to heal non-stop, but if you're allowed not to like run out of force in these scenarios, you will be quite a badass healer. So I'm not really sure how to feel about this change right now, because if you are faced with the fact that your force will not degenerate, and the second healer meanwhile is able to negate the effects of you losing your health from using Noble Sacrifice, it might become a serious problem. Force Warden, Heal and Trance Channel Stick. Heal and Trance right now is a hugely goddamn badass skill, and they're making it even better. I can see how that might make a whole cast of healers happy. Humility. Targets stunned by your force stun suffer humility when force stun wears off, which reduces all damage dealt by some percent for 10 seconds. Now that is actually an interesting thing, especially when you're forced by a single attacker which is set on harassing you and interrupting. That is a good change, I feel, for the healers who for some reason need to kite and escape one or two attackers. That is a good escape mechanic. Well, not exactly escape mechanic, but survival skill. You can even call it a defensive cooldown of sort. Of course, it's only single target, so it wouldn't work when you're focused, but it's additional damage reduction combined with, say, taunts can render certain attackers impotent. I wonder if it can be cleansed, because if it can be cleansed, then it's certainly a good change. Currently, sages and sorks do need a little bit more survivability. Life Ward, your force armor and force barrier heal you. Are you freaking kidding me? Now that is a little bit too much. I wonder what percent of healing it is. If it's not a lot, then I can live with it, but if it's something like if it's 1% of your total health, then sages don't often have a lot, then it's fine. But if it's like 3, 4, 5%, no thank you. That would be completely overpowered. Master Speed increases the duration of force speed by now wait a second, there is no need to increase the duration of force speed. This might be broken, especially when you Now wait a second, I've got a thought that you will not be actually able. They're adding a lot of possible skill combinations. So what I feel about that, you will not be able to max out most of your tree right now. Yes, that might be the case. They're adding additional skills, they're adding additional perks, and like what we will possibly see in the expansion is that you will be able to even put in all your 46 skill points. Even after putting all your 46 skill points into a single tree, it will be filled by about 75-80% only. You will have to choose what you want, what benefits you want from a single tree, and of course it pretty much would eliminate hybrid trees. That's a possibility. Of course, all of this is just a speculation. It doesn't, but from what I can see, and if these changes are true, that is certainly a possibility. Like they're adding a lot of additional skill points to the trees, and that's exactly what I feel they're trying to do, trying to eliminate hybrids and trying to make people think what exact benefit from one particular tree they want for themselves. They will not be able to like completely max it out like it can be done right now. Okay, Clairvoyance increases your bonus healing by some percent for speed. Okay. Immutable Force. Wait, why would they change Aggress? It already has 50 and 100%. Oh, it's gonna be a single point, not 2 skill points, 2-point skill. Okay. Immutable Force reduces the activation time of Deliverance by the Force cost and Benevolence. Preservation reduces the force cost of forced armor and reduces the duration of force imbalance. Oh my god, wait a second. It reduces the duration of force imbalance. These can drastically improve the healing done by sages, and that might be sort of imbalance. Of course, it depends on how much it reduces it, but so far I feel that force imbalance should not be touched whatsoever. Psychic Suffusion. Force Wave has a certain percent chance to heal you and affected. Wait a second, are you saying that Overload and Force Wave now actually gonna be healing people? Well, depends for the amount, but it's an additional AoE heal. And in group combat, when you're knocking people away from your group, you're actually also healing them. Yes, just look at the... Oh, I don't know, guys, I don't know. This requires that well, first of all, of course, it requires an understanding of the whole picture among all the classes. But by themselves, when applied to the current environment we play in, it does seem a little bit too much. But then again, if every class has that a little bit of too much, then perhaps it's not so broken. Salvation heals up to 8 allies for a certain amount over a certain amount of seconds. Wait a second. Salvation is now not a single point skill, but 3. Well, like I said, this is seriously starting to resemble the fact that they want to completely eliminate hybrid trees, and they want you to choose what kind of hybrid, so to speak, you will be from a single skill tree. Serenity increases force critical chance by 1% and damage reduction by a certain percent. Now that is gonna be instead of, what is it now, 2 or 3 into a single point skill. Okay, whatever. Telekinetics or lightning. Cascading Force. Telekinetic Wave has certain percent to immobilize all affected targets for 1, 2, 3 turns from I think 2 into 3 skill point, and slow all affected targets by excuse me. So instead of immobilizing them with something that breaks on damage after 2 seconds, it's gonna immobilize and then slow everyone. That's too much, guys. That's too much. No, wait, what am I talking about? That's not it. That's completely disregard this. Well, actually, no, I understand it now. Don't forget what I said just now. They're trying to buff the viability of madness and telekinetics and PvP. That's a good thing to go, because telekinetics or lightning has to be viable, because currently it's greatly underpowered due to everything being channeled. Everything could be interrupted and stuff, and you may end up not being able to cast a single skill. Right now you have at least this one first change grants you the ability to provide more utility to your team. This feels like an interesting change. and you actually have to cast it to get it off, unless you get a perk for instant cast. Then it might get overpowered. Not only it immobilizes people, 5 people by the way, it affects up to 5 people. Not only it can immobilize up to 5 people, but it will also slow them for 50%. And if this, I think it's caused, the perk is caused by disturbance and force quake. For an instant cast. That might be overpowered now that I think about it. Seriously, immobilize and slow on up to 5 targets with an instant cast. Flow and force. Telekinetic momentum is twice as likely to trigger while mental alacrity is active. Additionally increases the duration of mental alacrity by certain seconds and reduces its cooldown by... Wait, there was I don't know. Additional increases... Don't know what to think about this actually. Force haste reduces the cooldown of force speed by a certain amount of seconds. Force slow by a certain amount of seconds, and force barrier by a certain amount of seconds. Well, again, yet another skill that is hard to say something about. More control and escape mechanics. Telekinetics or lightning is certainly turning into a full CC spec rather than damage. Mental momentum. Mind Crush has a certain chance to tick twice. In addition, when you activate Turbulence, there is a certain % chance the ability will produce a second blast that strikes the same target for 30% damage. Okay, whatever. This is... This is yet another change to channel an ability to make them more viable, perhaps provide more incentive to cast them, because currently they're quite highly underused, at least in middle tree. Upheaval. When you activate Project, holy shit, now it's gonna be in every friggin' tree, or what? Yeah, judging from the fact they're trying to put it into every tree, it really starts to show that they are going to eliminate all the hybrid specs. So, assuming this is all true, even no matter how imbalanced it is, we can safely assume there will be no hybrid specs starting from the expansion. We'll all be playing the same spec. Okay. And even when we will be playing the single spec, we'll still have to choose what we want from it, because we will not be able to max it out. Well, fine. Block out reduces the activation time of force lift increases. Now, yeah, like I'm saying, this middle tree is turning into all control. So I assume they're gonna allow you as well to reduce the activation time of force lift by 100%. Well, even if it's only 50%. No, it's not even percent, it's seconds. Huh. Previously it was the cooldown of force lift that was affected, or whirlwind if you prefer it, but now it's the activation time. They've changed it, so more control to the middle tree. I get the feeling that middle tree is what is the only sage or sword tree that will be played in ranked, simply because they're adding an insane amount of crowd control. Just simply insane. What I've just read to you guys, it sounds like they've decided that all you have to do in the middle tree is like spam CC, nothing else. Force wave has certain % chance to unbalancing targets, immobilizing them for 5 seconds. Now that was a 2 skill point perk, as I remember. Now it's only 1. Inner strength reduces the force cost of force attacks and healing abilities by certain percent, and increases the force accuracy. This is gonna be a single skill point as well. Right now it's 3, if I'm correct, or 2, I forgot, whatever. Force armors you place on yourself have a certain percent chance to collapse. Okay, they're fixing the bubble. Finally, thank God. Only on yourself now. Yes, it's gonna be only on yourself. Great. Great. But there's a lot of other things that seem as broken right now. They're fixing one control and distributing it among everything else. Interesting. Increases the critical damage bonus. Well, but then again, you will not be able to play like hybrid between healer and military to have insane amount of ground control and healing. Now you can choose either you're a healer or you're a controller. There will not be a hybrid anymore, which will balances out, I suppose. I don't know. Let's keep on reading. I should be streaming this live. Why the hell am I not doing it? I think it would be interesting to talk with the audience at the same time and hear what they think about it. But oh well, this is how it is. I don't know, guys. I feel like eliminating hybrid specs is an interesting idea, simply because they realize that they will not be able to work. Now, one thing I was thinking about, and I was going to write a huge blog post about it, that when you add additional 5 skill points, it will open up a lot of possibilities. Like you can have, say, a full 31 Infiltration Shadow, obviously getting most benefits from the tree, and at the same time you can go up to Force and Balance. Imagine a current full Infiltration tree with additional 5 skill points, which allow you to go up to Force and Balance and reduce its cost by 25%, and additionally get yourself an instant Force lift. Obviously this would require a lot of tree changes, swapping skills around. That would affect a lot more than just PvP. It would affect PvE leveling and stuff. Right now they're saying, okay, we're eliminating hybrid specs completely. And you can choose what you want from whatever skill tree you prefer. Sounds reasonable, to be honest. Sounds reasonable. But let's keep on reading. Force attacks till Kinetic fusion. That critical hit have a certain percent lowering. Okay. That's changes to the amount of skill points. Telekinetic momentum. Changes to the amount of skill points you have to invest. Tidal force, disturbance, and turbulence have tidal force, and this effect cannot occur. Okay. Tremors, telekinetic momentum, and mental momentum issue tremors, increasing your force bonus damage. It's already there, but it's a 3 skill point right now. It's turning into 1 or what? In addition, each telekinetic momentum and mental momentum has active cooldown of mental alacrity by a certain amount by 1 second. A little bit of a rework, and we're finally done with the changes. Overall, they feel quite overpowered right now, but if you look at it in light of the fact that there will now be hybrid specs anymore, and you will not be able to max out your skill tree completely, then it might make some certain amount of sense. But let's read on, because we still have 3 classes ahead of us, although judging from the fact that I've scrolled almost to the half of it, then it seems that sages and shadows have undergone the most drastic changes. Okay, Jedi Knight, in general you get dual saber throw. Now you don't get the 2 lightsabers as a Jedi Knight. Why is it even uniskill? Only Sentinels have 2 lightsabers. Okay, this is a skill shot actually. You have to position yourself properly to gain most effect out of it. You have to position yourself properly, target enemy which is behind all other enemies. It's mostly to target healers, I guess. And then when both sabers fly, they slow everyone in their path. Like tanks, DPS, everyone who's protecting the healer is standing in front of them, and that's and I salute the decision to add a skill like that to the game. It certainly seems quite interesting of how people will utilize it and how they will position to gain the most effect from it. Saber reflects all direct, single targeted ranged force attacks and stuff. Now this is interesting. Certainly seems overpowered, especially against channeled attacks, because as soon as you see someone channeling their ambush or stuff against you, primarily snipers, if someone is casting Master Strike or Ravage against you, you now have the chance to reflect all the damage dealt to you back to the attacker. This would greatly discourage any DPS on engaging on tanks even more than right now, but additionally, if you say you are a squishy Vigilance, Vengeance, Focus or whatever else player, you get a great defensive cooldown, but what I'm afraid of is that if it's a uniskill and Marauders and Sentinels get it too, that would make them increasingly insanely hard to kill. Not only they have a lot of defensive cooldowns, well, not a lot, but they have just enough to make any skilled player damn hard to kill, but they would get an additional defensive cooldown which would make any one-on-one combat insanely hard for the opponent. Like right now, imagine yourself a Shadow or a Sniper are defending a point, one Sentinel or Marauder runs in, engages in combat, fights you till he has like 50% or till you run out of your defensive cooldowns, maybe use your stealth or something breaker, then you have no other option but to fight him. And then he pops his Saber Reflect, and you have either chance to wait it out while suffering damage in return, or you have to fight and take all the damage back. Now it doesn't affect any AoE, so for example for Sweep or Smash will go through without any problem, like force imbalances will ignore it, but other than that, what does it mean direct? I guess, I guess dots are not affected as well, so there we go. This skill looks like a great tool, but at the same time, in one-on-one combat, well, the duration of it is not specified, as well as not a cooldown. So it's hard to judge, but in the hands of a skilled player it can be a great tool of eliminating single defenders on the points. Visionary, you can now generate 1 focus when attacked in Shicho form. I suppose it's for the who? Marauders? Yeah, I guess they changed this crappy you now blade storm and force scream cost reduction by 1 to the same as on the Guardians and Juggernauts, which is actually a good change. It says Jedi Knight, but so far everything is about Marauders, seriously, like dual saber throw, that's obviously for Sentinels and Maras. Visionary is obviously for Sentinels and Maras, but let's check. Well, combat is Sentinel spec Carnage. Contemplation reduces the cooldown of awe by a set amount of seconds. In addition, you build up some centering over the course of using introspection. This effect cannot occur more than once every 30 seconds. What? Interesting. So it is assumed you will not be going into Watchman spec at all. So you need some additional centering build-up. Well, don't take my word for it, don't take my word for it, of course, but certainly feels like they imply that you will not be putting even a single skill point into other trees if you want to make your skill trees effective. That's how it feels right now. Okay, because currently if you have like this 2-point skill from Watchman or Annihilation together with defensive forms, you build up centering just fine. You do not need any additional centering build up from whatever else source it is. You can just use your skills a few times and there you are at 30 sacks, but they're adding another one, so this might mean something. Hand of Justice. A Tower form damage has a certain percent chance to trigger Hand of Justice. Just finishes, which finishes the cooldown on Precision Slash and Dispatch, and makes your next dispatch free and usable on a target with any health level. Once every 20 seconds. So basically, you can now be able to use Precision Slash in concurrence twice. Right now you use for example Master Strike or Massacre away, Blade Rush away, finish it up with Blade Storm or Scream, and that's it. What the hell was that? But instead, when you use Precision Slash now once, wait, where did I scroll to? I lost. Okay, there it is. But now, when you use Precision Slash, finish your combo, you will have it available to use once again. And even more, if you did not reduce the health of the target low enough by the previous combo, you will be able to use your dispatch anyway. So this is a great... Actually, I feel this boost was needed. Combat will be much more versatile right now this way. It will be able to output a lot more damage. It will be in conjunction with the additional skills everyone gets. It may be very interesting. What to say? It's a needed change. That's what I feel. It doesn't feel broken. It can be interrupted, and if you think about it, about the fact that you cannot actually go into hybrid to gain this additional 15% crit chance from rage or focus, it feels very fair. At least with the information I have on my hands right now. Whatever. Saber Screen. When your Taro form deals damage, your damage reduction and melee and range defense are increased. Wow, even more defense. Interesting. Stacks up to 3 times and lasts certain, well, I suppose by 1%, right? Because if it's more, it's gonna be crazy. So you can have up to 3 additional percent of melee and range defenses, as well as 3% damage reduction. This is not so bad. I feel like combat needed additional survivability, something like that. Similar to Deception or Infiltration. Then again, additional defenses stacked with your Transcendence or Predation, which provides additional 10% defense, can be quite, and with the new defensive cooldown, it can be quite a pain to kill. I am seriously not so sure right now where this all is going. Changes combat trance when opportune attack is consumed by Blade Storm. So basically when you crit on your Blade Storm or Scream, you generate additional focus. Yeah, so right now when it ends, you generate focus. But here instead it was changed: when you crit on your Blade Storm and Scream, then you generate focus. This seems like a good change. It was needed because it made no sense. You get opportune attack, you wait for it to end, and then it generates focus. Defensive forms builds additional centering when attacked. 3 points now. This effect cannot occur more than once every 1.5 seconds. Additionally, improves the effect. Shichou further increases damage reduction. Juyo reduces internal and elemental. Well, I suppose they changed the percent. Displacement. Crippling Throw now has a certain percent chance to immobilize the target. Now it's 3 skill points instead of 2 currently. Okay. Immaculate Force, opportune attack. Now additional increases the critical chance of Blade Storm by this is now 1 skill point instead of 2. Because seriously, it made no sense to have 2 skill points, 15 to 100%. So of course everyone would go for 100%. Everything that allows you to go for 100% chance, of course, will be used to the max. All of this is a good change, of course. This crap with the 50% chance into 100 should be eliminated completely. Precision slash slashes the target for, or gore if you prefer, slashes the target for certain weapon damage and grants precision for. Whoa! It turns from 1 point skill into 3. Excuse me, how are they going to balance out the duration? Right now it's 4.5 seconds. How much will it be? 2, 3, 4? 3, 4, 5? Well, obviously 3. Huh, interesting. Well, without the numbers it's hard to say. What I actually feel that they should have left 4.5 seconds and instead changed the armor penetration values, like 80, 90, 100, or 70, 85, 100, something like that. But okay, whatever. I'm pretty sure if it's real, it's still not set in stone and will be reviewed. Defense. Battlefield command. Getting attacked while in Sorcerer form. Now, keep in mind that if it's true, it will change tanking for Guardians and PvP completely. Well, by if it's true, I mean if there will be no hybrid specs no more. So basically you'll have to tank in full Vigilance or in full defense. There will not be such a thing like half defense, half Vigilance. Battlefield command. Getting attacked while in Sorcerer form reduces the active cooldown on Force Sleep by a certain amount. This effect cannot occur more than once. That's interesting. In addition to resetting your cooldown with a force push, it will be reset every time you're attacked. I can see how it's useful in hotball, of course, and of course it's useful to navigate around the field in any battle, and especially since you take damage from guarding someone as well. It will work towards reducing the cooldown too. Okay, Beacon of Might reduces the cooldown of Guardian Call by a certain amount, increases the damage dealt by Heal Strike and Guardian Slash, and reduces the cooldown of Repost. That's a good thing. Guardian Call certainly needs a cooldown reduction if a full defense is to be used in PvP. As well as damage increase is also necessary if you are. It also might be, of course, since I do not know the numbers, I can only speculate. Well, I'm speculating on everything, so who cares? It depending on how much of the damage increase it is, it might be viable to play DPS in DPS gear in defense tree. Daunting Presence. Force Leap has a certain % chance to finish cooldown on Force Kick. In addition, Saber Reflect lasts a certain % lower and generates high amount of threat on all engaged enemies within 30% meters when activated. Okay, we do not care about the threat, it's a PvE thing, but I guess it's 100% chance, right, to finish the cooldown on Force Kick, otherwise what meaning does it have? Well, this only means one thing. Every time you Force Leap, and then that could be twice, you reset your cooldown on Interrupt. What does it mean? Any healer outside from bubbled commando or mercenary will have a shitload of problems on their hands when facing a guardian tank, or even not a tank, even some bizarre DPS gear defense player, because not only their casts will be interrupted by leaps, but additionally cooldown on interrupt will be reset. So skilled guardian players, guardian tank players will be able to render certain healers quite impotent. They will not be able to cast anything outside of instant casts. That's quite interesting, and this well, actually what I can see so far is that changes to the knights are quite skill dependent, to be honest. If you execute them properly, you might be able to render enemies quite defenseless or offenseless, if that's even a word. So that's interesting. That's definitely interesting. A lot more interesting than seemingly overpowered changes to the shadow, to the Consulars and Inquisitors. Expeditious Protector. When your guarded target is attacked, you gain Expeditious Protector for 6 seconds, immediately increasing your movements. Wow, this is interesting. I welcome this change, seriously. Well, of course, it depends how much it increases. If it's only 10%, then it's not worth it, I guess, because you will be slowed so much that this 10% will not even count to something. Guard and Thrusts reduces the cooldown of Repost. Why the hell would you need it anyway? Repost is a greatly underused skill. Nobody attacks tanks directly. Guardsmanship. Challenging Call has oh my god, AoE Taunt has I suppose 100%. Well, actually it might not be. This one skill point might not be 100% skills. Some random factor may be involved, and that would be even better, I guess. So AoE taunt from Juggernauts or Guardians has a 30% chance to protect all allies within range, excluding yourself though, which absorbs a moderate amount of damage. So basically Guardians or Jugs have a chance to guard Blade, what is it called? Blade Ward or something to everyone around himself, excluding himself around him. Interesting. This is additional utility to intercede or guardian leap. Wow. Now seriously, after thinking about it, in the grand scheme of things, this seems like after reading this, I'm beginning to see like the changes are actually for the better. It will make the PvP a lot more skillful. Well, of course, until I see the end numbers and how the players play them out. But from what I see so far, it seems like PvP will become a lot more spectacular than it already is and much more dynamic. There will not be instant nukes. We'll see. We'll see. I'm actually getting excited as more as I read this, and I want to believe this is all true. I'm getting excited about the changes. Really. Especially when put in the hands of the proper players with a lot of coordination, it can be good, can be really good. But then again, with all these changes to the war zones themselves must be made. Otherwise, well, no, I'm not gonna go into this yet. But definitely to accommodate for all the changes made to the trees and added skills, there must be changes to war zones must be made. Okay. Jedi Warden reduces the cooldown of force push by a certain amount of seconds and reduces the focus cost of freezing force by... Okay, they are uniting two skills. So, as I understand, somehow in defense, the current skill, which reduces the global cooldown of freezing force and its cost to 0, will be removed completely, I guess, because there are two skills in defense now, one which reduces the cooldown of force push and the other which reduces the cost of freezing force and its global cooldown. This is now made into one. This is interesting. I wonder how this will work out, because speculating on this of course is hard. Before seeing the whole layout of the skill tree, how it will be. Master Focus increases the damage dealt by Master Strike. And this is in defense. Huh. Now seriously, they're implying that you will be able to play in DPS gear, defense in DPS gear. This is interesting. Seriously, if this is all true, this is well thought out. Even though, of course, the numbers may be crazy. Focus. Force Guard reduces the damage taken from force attacks. In addition, whenever you reflect force damage with Saber Reflect. Additional survivability for Focus. Well, why not? Why not? It's... Considering it's gonna be nerfed, you will need additional survivability there. Force Health reduces the health spent by guarded by the force. Okay, it goes for the Sentinels and Marauders. In addition, Twin Saber Throw builds some focus. Well, I don't know. This is hard to say about it, but then again, improvement. How much do you think? How much do you think, guys? Health spent by Undying Rage or Guarded by the Force is 50%, 25%. It cannot be 100%, right? But it is additional survivability, and that's quite it is quite strong, because it implies that you do not need to wait till you are like 100 hit points to use Guarded by the Force now. since if it's not 50% of your current health but only 25, you can use it even in the beginning of the battle and then get sustained to full while taking no damage. You will inflict damage yourself. Because obviously losing, like, say 3k HP instead of 6k is much better. I can see several uses for this, but of course first we have to see how the focus tree is reworked. Okay, heightened power increases all damage dealt by a certain percent for a certain amount of seconds after using force sweep. So yeah, they're gonna cut force sweep. Well, I don't know yet, but most certainly, since this is something that people complained a lot, and I read that short post on the forums, and it stated that force sweep will be reworked and damage dealt decreases. So yeah, they're trying to move the damage from force sweep only towards all the other skills, which is a good idea, yes, because of course right now force sweep is the primary tool. Everything else doesn't deal as much damage as you need to keep to bring targets down in focus or rage specs. So this is nice, yes. In SWTOR, force sleep and zealous sleep have a certain percentage chance to snare the target. Wait a second. What does this mean? They already snared the target. But now in addition, they will slow it? Now this is kind of unclear. What do you mean snare the target? They already do. So does it mean it will also be slowed if you pick this perk? In addition to being snared, it's also gonna be slowed. This is great for hotball, but of course it's also great for controlling healers. Intervention. Force Leap, Zealous Leap and Guardian Leap have a certain percent chance to grant intervention, which makes your next freezing force cost no focus and activate with a 0%, 0.5 second global cooldown. Okay, so this is worked out of defense completely and now worked into the focus tree. I don't know, will this be useful? Hardly focus or rage players ever use freezing force. But I can see how focus and rage trees are getting more control as well with this slow and zealous sleep. So maybe it's like they will start using it, considering it will cost no force, unlike right now where it still costs one focus. When they still cost one focus or rage, and you have to pick pretty much useless. Well, no, not useless. It reduces force exhaustion or force crash as well. Cost of it. But still, of course, it's still underused. It's an interesting change, though I do not know if it will make people use it. But it's a good. Well, then again, it reduces global cooldown from 1.5 to only 0.5. So yeah, it's actually a good thing. Interesting to see how it will play out in the hands of a good player. So Jedi Enforcer increases the damage dealt by rebuke by a certain percent and increases its duration. Wait, what? Rebuke, okay. Rebuke is already strong enough, come on. Do you really need to buff it up? Then again, it's for the focus, yes. I seriously starting to strongly believe that they're going to eliminate, once again I'm stating it, but yeah, judging from the changes, they're going to eliminate hybrid specs completely. Momentum, Force Sleep and Zealous Sleep have a certain percent chance to make next blow. Yeah, they're removing this one focus or rage cost reduction and instead offering you free Blade Storm or Scream. That's good. Agility training. Now instead of increasing your movement speed, they're offering you a perk to use Zealous Sleep if you're immobilized. So right now, for example, if you're fighting another Jedi Guardian or Balance Sage or Shadow or whatever, you cannot use your Force Sleep or Zealous Sleep to stack up the buff for 100% critical chance of your sweep or smash. So they're allowing you to do this. This is a great change, simply great. Felon Blow, Force Sleep and Zealous Sleep have. Can you see how a lot of stuff will depend on Force Sleep and Zealous Sleep in this spec? And this is quite important, I feel. Have a certain percent chance to make your next Force Sweep used within, well, okay. It says there are gonna be changes to this, but how much of a change will that be? What does it mean? Are they going to change the percent chance or? Okay, cannot say a thing until I see the numbers. It's gonna be changed to. Oh wait, of course. Right now it's 2 skill points. They're gonna be changing it to 1. I talked about it before, that how they're eliminating these 2 skill point perks, where you get 50 to 100% chance and changing it probably to a solid 100%. This is a great thing they're doing. Like seriously, these changes are very good. At least the basis of these changes. The numbers themselves might be pretty broken, so it's too hard to be too early to be happy yet. Focused Resonance increases the critical strike damage of all attacks by a certain percent. Okay, from 3 skill points to 1. How much, I wonder? 15, 20, 30, 10? I don't know. Force Exhaustion progressively slows the target from 50% to 5. Over the duration, well, the other log stated it was 3 seconds, and deals some kinetic damage each second. Again, this skill turns from 1 to 3 skill points. At the end of the duration, the target is crushed and takes additional damage. It is also implied that you might choose not to, with these skills, which are currently end the tree, it is implied that you might choose not to go for the full 3 skill points in them, and instead choose just 1. The primary effect is still the same on all of them. But if you want them to be stronger in damage, you might want to at the expense of something else, I'm pretty sure. You might choose to max them out. That's interesting. Gravity Defiance reduces the focus cost of Zealous Sleep and Force Exhaustion. Yes, right now this it was Freezing Force and Force Exhaustion, which completely made no sense. Right now it's Zealous Sleep and Force Exhaustion. Awesome change. Inner Focus Guardian. Combat Focus immediately grants some additional focus and some additional stacks of Singularity. Reduces the cooldown of... Okay, I heard before that it will be now only 3 stacks of Singularity, so I suppose it's 3. Okay. Pulse. reduces the cooldown of force stasis by a certain amount of seconds. Yes, because previously pushback pulse was the most useless perk in the friggin' tree. It was just useless. Using it made no sense whatsoever. Pushback on your force stasis or force choke, don't make me laugh. Skilled players never needed it. Never. Just never. Instead, now it reduces the cooldown, allowing for more frequent usage, and now it makes sense to pick it up. And in addition, it is changed from 2 skill points into 1. Okay. Singularity, and this is goddamn the most important change. Like let's read it with concentration and deeper understanding. While Shicho form is active, combat focus grants stacks of singularity. Wait a second, are they implying that combat focus? No, wait, it's changed. Wait, I don't understand it. Why does it say combat focus? Whatever, let's ignore it. It's either someone didn't cover their tracks well enough, or some mistake here. Whatever. Singularity, Shicho form inactive, combat focus grants, because we've already... I'm not sure how this works actually. Inner focus. Whatever, combat focus grants 1, 2 or 3. Right now singularity is 2 skill point perk. I guess it's reworked into 3. Reducing the focus cost and increasing the damage dealt of your next force sweep by same percent. Stacks up to 3 times. Additionally, each hit of force exhaustion grants 1 stack of singularity. What's this supposed to mean? So wait, without this perk, you do not get singularity, right? Interesting. Also reduces the cooldown of combat focus by a certain amount of... Wait, so both singularity and inner focus now reduce the cooldown of combat focus? Huh, this is weird. Okay, without the numbers it's hard to judge. Maybe it will be the same as it is right now. Just spread over the 2 skills. Also reduce the cooldown of combat focus. Seconds and causes combat to generate 4 additional focus over 4 seconds. Well, half of it is as it is right now, but something is reworked. Singularity Sentinel telling Shicho form grants certain amount of stacks of singularity. I'm not sure how it works for the Guardian. Like, inner focus says combat focus grants stacks of singularity, and then singularity says that combat focus grants stacks of singularity as well. What's this supposed to mean? This is confusing. Maybe something's wrong, or somebody was too busy making up shit. Okay, reducing the... So right now you actually can stack up your singularity from force exhaustion without picking up the perk. This change implies that force exhaustion is simply a dot skill that doesn't necessarily improve your force sweep, and you have to actually get singularity for your force sweep to get improved. So you can like build your Shicho focus in a way that doesn't necessarily use singularities, although I'm not sure why would anyone do that. Swelling Winds increases the damage dealt by Force Sweep and Cyclone Slash by blah blah blah, and reduces the cooldown by a certain amount. Okay, this is a rework of this skill, which worked for the Force Sweep only before. Now it includes Cyclone Slash. Zephyrian Slash Guardian. While Shicho form is active, all strike abilities Slash, Blightstorm and Dispatch has a certain amount of reduce active cooldown on Force Sweep and Zealous Slap by and includes combat focus now. Wow. This is do they seriously consider that the cooldown on combat focus, which is 45% reduced, is a lot? But wait a second, there are two skills right now which reduce. This can only imply one thing, that you will not be able to pick one or the other. You will not be able to pick either inner focus or, well, singularity. You have to be able to think this is like core of a focus or rage. But there is a possibility that you will not be able to pick inner focus or what? This is interesting. There is a lot of cooldown reduction on combat focus, and like it feels like you will be able to use it every 5 seconds if it if it goes live. Okay, this requires a lot of testing. This requires real numbers before passing any judgment. For Sentinel, it's the same, only without reducing the cooldown on combat focus. Okay, Vigilance. Now this is the most interesting tree. Actually, it needed a huge buff because right now it's highly nerfed, and I heard it's getting it. Now additionally, guys, I feel like I will be doing this over the course of 2 episodes because this is getting quite long. And the next episode, well, next part, not episode, of DAILYCAST, talking about the possible changes, I will broadcast it live instead. So if you are watching it, maybe send me, and if you want to watch it live and maybe talk to me on chat, or maybe even get with me on the Skype, just send me a message on YouTube or message me on Reddit, because I will post an update on Reddit as well, and we will probably organize something. I don't know. I will decide on the time. Of course, if you are interested in this, because all these, of course, may be just some bullshit, which is not worthy of attention. But so far, if it's true, these changes are very well planned out, and certainly they seem good, even though they might seem a little bit overpowered. But considering the fact that they probably eliminating useless 2 skills, they are probably making you use only 1 tree at a time, no hybrids, and they're probably gonna make you choose what you want from the tree, and you will not be able to max it out. It all seems logical altogether. They're also adding so-called skill shots, I guess. Skills that require careful planning and consideration before you use them. And in teamfight it might get quite good. Anyway, let's check out Vigilance. New Keening increases the damage dealt by your burn-in effects by certain percent. But wait, the burn-in effects in Vigilance deal no freaking damage at all. They're like 0 damage. The dots are just laughable. Well, with the exception of Plasma Brand, or whatever it's called in Vengeance 3, the last skill. In addition, your Master Strike and burning damage has certain percent chance to trigger Keening, which finishes the cooldown on Dispatch. Wow. Well, it's similar to what we get in defense, I guess. This is good. This is really good. Vigilance seriously needs this. Preparation. When you exit combat, the active cooldowns on Force Leap, Combat Focus. This is interesting. But how often do you exit combat? I wonder. Sometimes it doesn't happen for the duration of the whole war zone. I'm not sure how useful this in PvE in this form. You might not be, in certain situations you might not be exiting combat for minutes. Force Rush, Overhead Slash, Dispatch, Plasma Brand have a certain percent chance to increase the critical chance of your next Blade Storm by... well, that's good. This is certainly needed. Probably 100%. Oh, wait, no, wait, I'm forgetting. Right now, Overhead Slash and Plasma Brand increases your critical chance on Dispatch and Blade Storm by 60%. It's reworked, so Dispatch is not included. In the list of skills whose critical strike chances increase, but instead it increases it itself. And also it's not flat right now, but instead it stacks up to 2 times. Weird. I'm not sure. Until I see it in action, I do not know. Oh, I guess it's 50%. Yes, that would make sense. If it's 50% per stack, then by using Overhead Slash, Sundering Strike, Plasma Brand, you can then finish it up with a critical from Blade Storm, which is not so bad. Improved Sundering Strike reduces the cooldown, which is good, because right now I feel Sundering Strike is, considering it it applies important mechanic for the Guardians, which is armor reduction. I feel its cooldown a bit too high. Flat reduction on Sundering Strike in cooldown, in terms of cooldown, is good. Narrowed Focus generates 1 additional focus when taking direct area effect damage while Xian form is active. Isn't it the same right now? What's the change? I don't know. Plasma Brand, like every other entry skill, is changed from 1 skill point into 3. And like I said, they're trying to rework this skill, so well, at least it feels that way. So either you choose to sacrifice something else and max it out, or put only 1 point and max out something else. Xian form enters an offensive lightsaber. All attacks that cost focus will refund 1 focus unused. I don't know, I still feel, and I've always felt this way, that instead of refunding focus they should just reduce the focus cost. And actually something like that all attacks that cost focus will cost 1 less focus, would really help Vigilance and Vengeance in a lot of fields. Sundering Throw reduces the cooldown on Saber Throw and gives Saber Throw a chance to apply armor. Not sure what does it mean. Chance to apply armor reduction. How much of armor reduction will there be? Currently it can place stacks. Again, not exactly clear how it works. Currently you can have it can apply 2 stacks of armor reduction, which is 8%. Is it independent of the main mechanic of Sundering Strike, or... well, it doesn't say anything about that, so I guess it might not be, but then there's no specific numbers or anything about the stacks either. Okay, unremitting. Well, in Xian form, Wait, what do you mean while in Sheehan form? Now this invalidates my speculation about eliminating. Or are they actually suggesting? Yeah, they might be actually suggesting that you will be maxing out your vigilance, but you will not be going for no, what am I talking about? No, forget anything, I'm getting confused, too much talking. While in Sheehan form, yeah, you cannot go for unremitting in Shicho anymore. There is no chance you will be going for hybrid. Yes, instead it validates everything that I said before. They will be eliminating hybrid specs whatsoever. So prepare, guys. If this is true, there will be no hybrids. No hybrids. While in Sheehan form, Force Leap has a certain percent chance to grant unremitting, reducing all damage taken by 20% and granting immunity to interrupts and uncontrolled effects for 1 to interesting. So from 2 skill points it goes into 3. You can max it out or instead take only 1. It depends how many seconds it will be. It might be reduced to 1, 2, 3 from a solid 4, or it may be like 2, 3, 4 seconds. And generally you do not really need more than 2 seconds in anywhere but hotball, while in hotball you would rather want to max it out. But then you cannot play it in Sorcerer anymore, simply because it will work only in Sheehan. Wow, these changes, seriously, they seem awesome, guys. Awesome. Zen Strike, Overhead Slash and Plasma Brand have a certain percent chance to finish the cooldown on Master Strike and generate some focus. What's the change? The amount of focus generated? Oh yeah, it's now 1 skill point from 2. So I guess it's 100% chance, and something I talked about before, like they're eliminating useless 2 skill points and changing them into... But no, wait, it says each rank beyond the first. But it seems like there is only 1 rank. Something is wrong, or maybe... I don't know. Can't speculate. Like I said, guys, and I keep reminding you of this, all of these can be a complete bullshit. But then someone must have put a hell of a lot of hours to generate this much bullshit, which looks pretty real and well planned out. Okay, spoiler, Watchman. Inexhaustible Zeal. Juyo form can now stack up to 6 times. And Merciless Slash can now stack up to 4 times in total. So you can have even lower cooldown on Merciless Slash, and Juyo form can generate even more damage. Okay. Weakening Wounds. I remind you that whatever you believe, Annihilation and Watchmen are currently the best DPS for Marauders and Sentinels. The best DPS. It's hands down, even better than Focus. Properly played Watchmen and Annihilation are the best DPS. That's it. You can argue as much as you want, but good Watchmen and Annihilation players keep proving you wrong. They deliver a lot more damage than any other spec on the Marauders and Sentinels. Okay, Weakening Wounds. Applying a burn to your target reduces its damage dealt. Whoa, utility, it's even better. Oh, come on, it's the best. It's the best one-on-one spec, and it's getting even better. Zealous Word. Now, and when you think about it, that all the damage reduction throughout the whole team stacks up, certain DPS can just go damageless in this game. Oh come on, I'm falling off my chair already from these changes. Zealous Ward. Getting attacked while in Saber Ward is active heals you Additional healing effect. Whoa. Whoa. Burn and focus. Your direct damage attacks that critically hit build some focus. Okay. Close quarters reduces the minimum range of force leap. I think it's from 2 to 3. Or not. I forgot how this skill is planned out currently. Force fade increases the duration of force camouflage and further increases the movement speed. Right? Okay, it's from 2 skill points to 3 now. And you can you can choose to either put 1 for the full effect, for the full primary effect, or you can max it out with 3 if you need more utility. Alright. Really, I see what you're doing there, BioWare, and I approve. The only thing is for you to balance out the actual numbers that will come in the end, if this all is true. Mindseer Slash has a 1% chance, and Dispatch and Merciless Slash has a 13% chance to finish the cooldown and cauterize. Okay. Added Dispatch to the list. Plasma Blades increases damage dealt by your burn effects by a certain percent. In addition, your burn effects have a certain percent chance to build focus when dealing damage. This effect cannot occur more than once 1.5 seconds. From how many skill points it's again? Skill points swap. From I think it's 2, or maybe, well, I may be wrong and it's actually 3, but anyway, it's now a single point skill. And this concludes the changes. Now, of course, changes are interesting and all that, but until we actually see it all in action in the field, it's hard to say anything. But more importantly, I would like at the end of this part of DAILYCAST, I want to emphasize one thing. Two things actually. Is that BioWare is trying to, well, not trying to, if everything I can see right here is correct, they're eliminating hybrid specs completely. Like completely. There will no be hybrid specs whatsoever. It would make no sense to go hybrid. And the second thing is what they're trying to do is they will not allow you to max out on the skill tree of your choosing. You will have to decide what from the skill tree you want. You might want more utility or more damage. And it really looks like an interesting change is coming. I need to think about this, but of course we are not finished yet. The troopers and scoundrels, as well as mercenaries and well, bounty hunters and imperial agents are still ahead, but I will be doing this next time. Meanwhile, you can think about on everything I've said already. Someone actually, one thing I forgot about Vigilance, someone was saying it would increase its damage by 20%, but I forgot who, and I haven't seen anything like that in this changelog. I don't know. I clearly remember someone saying that Vigilance will have a perk that will increase its damage by like 10 or 20% overall. I don't know. Anyway, guys, for today, that is all. I will be doing the next part live, so if you are interested, get in touch with me on YouTube and Reddit. Message me, just don't flame much of how retarded I am, because I am not, and I love you still. because you guys who are playing SWTOR, especially if you're playing competitively, are awesome, but if you are not, you're still awesome, of course. I just hope you're trying to learn and trying to competitive PvP here. And haters who think there is no PvP or it's silly or BioWare doesn't care, go away. These changes are gonna bring SWTOR's PvP to a new page. That's I'm sure about. And I will not be missing lack of hybrid specs whatsoever. So for now, remember to follow me on YouTube at youtube.com/dailypvp. Follow me on social media at youtube.com. YouTube.com. Okay, my tongue is stopped working whatsoever, and my brain is slowing down as well. But follow me on Twitter and Facebook at /dailypvp, as well as my site is http://dailypvp.com. I'm flavored, and I'm gonna die right now simply because I'm tired of talking. Anyway, I love you guys. Play SWTOR, and I'm gonna fight my chair. I'm out. Have a good day.